Hi y'all, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for coming back. Excuse me. I'm still getting over my upper respiratory thing. I probably should still be taking my I should probably still be taking my antibiotic, but I stopped. Anyway, welcome back to What the Fuck Friday. I know I didn't post a video earlier this week. I'm a failure. I don't know what to tell you. But this week's What the Fuck Friday came from a headline I read on Reddit. And then I followed the story to Google and it was a whole thing. But the headline I read said, and it read, back in September, family members of late Dr. Ulrich Kloffer, whether that's the correct pronunciation of his name, I don't know, but that's the one we're going to go with, okay? Found the remains of roughly 2,411 aborted fetal remains hoarded in his Illinois garage. Strange flex, but go off. So I was immediately intrigued, of course. My sick, twisted self was like, well, now I need to know everything about this story, because mostly I was super interested in like the psychology of behind why he would keep all the fetuses, you know what I mean? We're going to start off first by talking more about Dr. Kloffer. And I don't know if it's Kloffer or Kloffer. We're going to go with Kloffer because that's the name I'm digging right now, okay? We're going to get more into him before we get into the rest of the story, because the story then morphs into the state having this mass burial for all of these aborted fetuses, and what's more strange than, like, which is the strangest part of this? Him hoarding the fetuses or for 20 some years, or the state then having a mass burial for them. But it wasn't just a mass burial, it gets worse than that. Dr. Kloffer was 79 when he passed away back in September, before his family found his hidden treasures. But before that, he had been one of the only few doctors in the area that ran a women's clinic and performed abortions. Now, that area, those states there, Illinois, Indiana, have like the toughest abortion laws in the country. And he was often the only doctor in the area that could perform that. Because he was the only doctor in the area, pretty much, that would perform these procedures, he became a target for the anti-abortion activists. Kloffer had his medical license revoked in 2016 for his shoddy record keeping. We can see why now. You're not going to keep records of fetuses that you didn't dispose of. And that's really the issue here that's brought up in some of the articles that I read, is in Illinois, where he's from. In Illinois, the law is that you have to bury or cremate the remains of aborted fetuses. And in other states, there aren't these tough regulations. You have to dispose of them properly, but not bury or cremate them. But there's no indication that he told anybody about this, his wife, his family, friends, nobody, until, his family went to dispose of his belongings after his death. But they found them in the garage in the attic of the garage, mixed in with other storage boxes, and the fetuses were just kept in Ziploc bags in formaldehyde, stacked up. And they also found, I think it was like 165 found in 2 different car trunks. So he had these fetuses scattered all over the place. And after they, the medical examiner, after the medical examiner checked out the fetuses, they said that they were definitely, at least 20 years old. So he had been keeping these fetuses in his garage for probably that long. They also found, abandoned medical records in many of the, now we get to the, I think, grossest, creepiest part of the whole story. The Illinois state decided that it was going to hold a mass burial for these 2,411 fetuses. Fine. That's fine. That's awesome. Great. That I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is not only did the governor speak at this thing to give a sort of eulogy, fine, but then he started going off about his anti-abortion stance. And not only did he speak about anti-abortion, there were other activists there speaking against abortion at a mass burial for aborted fetuses. Now, I'm no expert, but I would think that was wrong time, wrong place. But that's just me. I wouldn't think that pushing your conservative agenda, I just don't think that's the right time to decide to push your conservative agenda. That's really just absolutely disgusting. Like, disgusting. Why even have the mass burial then? Because it wasn't about honoring those souls, as that's, I'm sure, their theory. You know what I mean? I'm sure that's what they were saying, But to turn it into a political arena just absolutely ruffles my feathers. Because how is that not offensive? How? No matter what side of the abortion coin you lay on, the middle of it, either side, it doesn't matter. That's not the right time or place to decide to do that. And in the governor's speech, he used very inflammatory language to, continue to enrage the people that had gathered to honor these babies, right? No. He said, I'm reading this, so forgive me, that the bodies had been ghoulishly packed up and stored away in his garage, callously discarded in the trunks of his cars for nearly 2 decades. We get it. Like, we understand. Like, it's a horrendous thing. It's a horrendous find. It's a terrible thing. But, like, you don't have to use such inflammatory language. Okay, so down below, let me know what you find more disturbing to your sensibilities. The fact that this doctor hoarded these remains for 20 years because he was cheap and a hoarder. Or the Republican government using it as a platform to push their anti-abortion agenda. I mean, both are pretty bad, but I know what one disturbs me more. So my final thoughts on the whole thing. I'm going to take a drink first because the whole situation just has me so confused and so disenchanted with the world, I guess. I love baby bottles, by the way. Okay, so my final thoughts. Do we know the full story of why he wanted to keep these fetuses? No. So we can't just jump to the conclusion that it was because he was a hoarder or cheap or whatever. But we can point to the motivations of the officials that held the mass burial for the fetuses. If it had just been them truly wanting to honor the souls of those unborn children, I'm totally fine with that. Right on. That's great. I think that's fantastic. Do that. But don't go off then about how you should get reelected because you're going to have a tougher stance against abortion in your state. No. Not cool. Not couth. So that's it. That's WTF Friday for this week. Happy Valentine's Day. Thanks for stopping by. Enjoy your weekend. Come back. We're going to have this week, we. Who's we? Me? Us? Anyway, this week coming up, I will put up a tattoo story time, just talking about a couple of my tattoos. Some of you wanted to hear about that. So that will be up. Make sure you check back. If you haven't, make sure you subscribe. Hit the subscribe button down below. Give me a thumbs up. And I also have a Patreon now. If you want to be a patron and support this channel more than just watching it, I will put the link below and you can check that out. Alright, well, I'm going to go play with my hoarded dead things and finish my drink.